Part 54. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 532. Oh, there is something, Zhang Huai suddenly said as if he remembered something. Lei Lei looked at Zhang Huai, waiting for him to proceed. A week ago, it seemed that a plane came to Quanglan base, Zhang Huai said with some hesitation. Len Ning, who had looked relaxed just now, suddenly became stiff. Only come here once, Lei Lei looked at Zhang Huai and continued to ask, his expression no longer friendly. It seems like there was 1 month ago and 2 months ago, Zhang Huai said quickly. Seeing that Len Ning's eyes had turned cold when looking at him, Zhang Huai's expression suddenly became a little anxious. The first 2 times were just rumors, I can't be sure. This time, no conclusive evidence was found. This time was indeed unusual. Several people under his command said they had seen it. But this matter is mysterious. Because every time I said I discovered the plane, it was in the middle of the night, and most people were asleep at that time. Even if someone is awake and discovers the situation, it is very likely that the person involved is dazzled and admits his mistake. Next, if a plane really landed at Quanglan base, why would there be no news from the military about such an important matter? If their Quanglan base really had the ability to get in touch with the outside world, according to their father's personality, they should have publicized their status long ago, right? Therefore, he was really not sure whether the news was true or false. However, how did Mr. Lei know such secret information that even he was not sure about? Even people living in Quanglan base would find it difficult to find out, but Mr. Lei actually knew about it. What does that mean? Zhang Huai found that he did not dare to think about it anymore. Because he already had some chills running down his spine. There is actually someone from Mr. Lei in the Quanglan base, and he is also an extremely well-informed person. If he really had second thoughts, I think Mr. Lei would know it immediately. This is too scary. At this moment, Zhang Huai was really glad that he had no intention of abandoning Thunder. Otherwise, it would be really difficult for him to sit here peacefully at this moment. More than once, Len Ning narrowed his eyes and looked at Zhang Huai. Zhang Huai's face turned pale and he felt uneasy. Yes. Lei Lei frowned and glanced at Len Ning. This matter is not that simple. After we go back, we will investigate it carefully, then he said to Zhang Huai. Yes, Mr. Lei, Zhang Huai responded quickly. Yes. I'll have someone take you out. Lei Lei glanced at Len Ning again and directly issued an expulsion order to Zhang Huai. Then he picked up the landline phone on the table and dialed a number. After giving instructions to the person on the other end of the phone, he hung up the phone. Then, soon Thunder's secretary knocked on the door and came in. After the secretary left with Zhang Huai, Lei Lei looked at Len Ning again, who was obviously hiding something on his mind. Xiaoning, what do you think about the aircraft appearing at Quanglan base? Lei Lei stood up and strode towards Len Ning. Len Ning suddenly came to her senses, raised her head, and saw that Lei Lei had walked in front of her. With a smile on his face, Len Ning stood up and fell into Lei Ting's arms. Lei Lei was a little surprised and quickly hugged Len Ning back. The plane thing is most likely true. After a long time, Len Ning lowered his voice and said. Lei Lei was stunned and said, Zhang Huai has been asked to check. Our people are also making inquiries. Then he said. When he first heard the news, he didn't really believe it. But when news about the plane came 3 times in a row, it had to attract his attention. In these last days, airplanes are different from other forms of transportation. With vehicles like the Space Jade, the emergence of aircraft will undoubtedly break through geographical restrictions and achieve full circulation of goods. Moreover, with airplanes, you can know the situation of the outside world. Brother Len Ning suddenly called Lei Ting. Yes. I'm here. Lei Lei clearly sensed Len Ning's abnormality and could only try to give her some sense of security. Len Ning finally let go of Lei Ting. That plane should have come from the Southern Army base. Then he looked into Lei Lei's eyes and said. There was doubt in Lei Lei's eyes. The Southern Army base in City B. Len Ning lowered his eyes and said with a bit of solemnity. Before going to the Confederate Army base in her previous life, she lived a carefree life, even living in a worldly environment. But I never thought that the situation had already been undercurrent. She is the person that her eldest brother and mother care about most. How could she be spared? Before, she only thought that the Southern Army base's thoughts on Cydia would be something that happened later, but now it seems that she still thinks of things simply. The top commander of the Southern Army base happened to be the head of a local armed force before the end of the world, so there was naturally no shortage of ordnance and equipment. In addition, during the end of the world, they dealt with problems promptly after discovering them, so they retained a lot of power. After the end of the world, the Southern Army base has naturally become the most powerful base in City B, bar none. Afterwards, under the leadership of the person in charge, Guo Qiudong, the Southern Army base recruited surrounding bases at an extremely fast speed, continued to expand its population, and became stronger and stronger. In addition to ordnance, the Southern military base also has a large number of military supplies, including helicopters. The aircraft that appeared at Quanglan base was most likely a helicopter from the Southern Army base. As for the people from the Southern Army base who came to Quanglan base, it was obvious what their intentions were. Lei Lei frowned. At the beginning of the end of the world, Xiaoning once told him that the Southern Army base would be the biggest enemy of Thunder base in the future. But I didn't hear her tell me the details. The Southern Army base is very ambitious. They came to Quanglan and they probably want to recruit Quanglan to deal with us. Len Ning continued, the process of integrating Quanglan base must be accelerated. She had no memory of the time when Zhonglin was in power in the previous life, but it would not be later than the end of the second year of the apocalypse at the latest. Now that I think about it, this time is really broad. Before the end of the second year, the year after the end of the world is also within this time, and the second half of the end of the world is also within this time. Now that more than half a year has passed since the end of the world, a mysterious third-level lightning powerhouse has appeared next to Zhonglin. There are also aircraft from the Southern Army base that frequently communicate with the Quanglan base. Various situations and signs made it impossible for her to remain calm. This time Teacher Zhang came to him for help. The bigger reason was not that he wanted to take the initiative to get rid of Zhonglin, but that he was afraid that Zhonglin would take advantage of him first and for his own safety. Perhaps, some trajectories from past lives have already begun to move forward. And she must get rid of Zhonglin before he seizes the throne. Thinking of this, a sharp edge flashed in Len Ning's eyes. You have to contact Teacher Zhang to advance the plan. Perhaps, we can try to contact the Southern Army base, Lei Lei said after thinking for a moment. Len Ning was stunned. Unless we surrender, there is no point in negotiating, he then said. Lei Lei walked to the sofa and sat down, pulling Len Ning over and letting her sit on his lap. It's not a negotiation, that's not his style either. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Qi Now. Chapter 533. What is that? Len Ning's tone was a little bad. Peace talks? There was no way the Southern Army base would agree to it, and even if it did, she couldn't accept it. Guo Qiudong, that person ranks second only to Han Yu and Huo Xiao on her revenge list. She was still waiting for a chance to take revenge. Exchange some supplies with them. Lei Lei hugged Len Ning's waist. We need at least one helicopter. There must be more than one Southern military base with helicopters, and there must also be bases capable of producing helicopters. As long as a helicopter can be purchased, the rest will be simple. Xianing's vegetable base and the military's arsenal, they have a large amount of supplies that can be sold to obtain more valuable things. Helicopters make this possible. Len Ning was stunned. Unexpectedly, the Thunder had other ideas. Of course, It's also a good idea to seize the helicopter first. Lei raised the corner of his mouth. Then you can use this to force the southern military base to show up and negotiate with him. The situation in all major bases should be similar at the moment, and the biggest threat is zombies. At this time, the Southern Army base should not bring people to drop bombs on a plane. If so, he also has a weapon that can fire ammunition into the sky. If the other party dares to come, he can make it impossible for him to come back. However, Xiaoning's words gave him a warning. He had to take advantage of the fact that the Southern Army base was busy dealing with zombies and seize the time to make the Thunder base more powerful. One of the most important ones is to equip it with a helicopter or even an armed helicopter. Otherwise, when people really fly planes to bomb the Thunder base, they will have no choice but to dodge and fight back on the spot. And this is not his Thunder style. His way of doing things, if the other side sends a bomber, he will report back to a team. If you don't kill him, you will kill him when he catches his breath. Ye Lenning nodded in agreement with Lei Ting's words. The eldest brother's idea is correct, but she didn't think rationally about this matter. However, after being reminded by her elder brother, she now has other ideas. Kuokuadong sent helicopters to Quanglin base 3 times. In addition to wanting to win over Quanglin to deal with Thunder base, there should be another reason. That is Han Yu. Yes, Han Yu, an orphan before the apocalypse, is actually the illegitimate daughter of Han Guodong, and she is also his only daughter alive after the apocalypse. Because Kuokuadong had a son before, even though he knew the existence of his daughter Han Yu, for the sake of family harmony, he never thought of taking Han Yu back. But in the apocalypse, South Korea's Dongna's only son was bitten while trying to save others, and was infected with the zombie virus, and he died just like that. In order to continue the blood of their Han family, Kuokuadong remembered Han Yu. It was also for this reason that in her previous life, Han Yu suddenly transformed from a social butterfly to the #1 person in the Southern Army base who could not be offended. Only then did Huo Xiao have the opportunity to rely on Han Yu to become one of the top figures in the military base of the Southern Army. To put it bluntly, Kuokuadong took a fancy to Huo Xiao's talent and his talent. According to what Yan Yu said before, Han Yu was kidnapped by a scar-faced man. And according to teacher Zhang, Scarface is from Zhang Lin. Then Han Yu is very likely to be in Zhang Lin's hands now. According to Zhang Lin's personality, if he cooperated with the Southern Army base, he would not be able to hand over Han Yu easily. If she can bring Han Yu to the Thunder base before Zhang Lin hands him over, Kuokuadong will definitely send someone to the Thunder base by then. Even more serious, Kuokuadong himself might even come to visit in person. Thinking of this, Len Ning suddenly had some plans in his mind. No matter what, take Quanglin first, Len Ning said solemnly. This was also said to herself. Yes. Let someone urge Zhang Huai. If he needs any help, we will try our best to cooperate, Lei said. As ordered, Len Ning raised the corners of his lips and responded. He asked me to help kill Zhang Lin, so I naturally cooperated. Brother, now you have agreed to this matter. Lei frowned slightly when he caught a glimpse of Len Ning's strange expression. Just as he was about to ask Len Ning if he had any evil intentions, he saw Len Ning get off his lap. We agreed to earn food for Xiaoman and Xiao Huai. Is it time to set off? Len Ning had returned to his previous playful and cute appearance. Lei instantly dispelled the doubts in his mind just now. Okay, let's go. Then he stood up. He had made arrangements in the morning and had already freed up time in the afternoon. On the one hand, it was to earn food for his son and his son's younger brother, but at the same time, it was also to date Xiaoning. Even though I am busy with work, I still have to find time to spend time with Xiaoning and enjoy our time together. Haha. Len Ning glanced at Lei with a smile and walked outside. Lei hurried to catch up. After leaving the military headquarters, Lei took out his car and drove Len Ning down the mountain and out of the Lei base. Then, The car sped away, leaving the South District and entering the city. Lei Lei then parked the car in an open area, and the two quickly got out of the car. In just a short while, a large wave of zombies heard the noise and swarmed towards them. Seeing Len Ning take out Xiaoman, the corners of Lei Lei's lips raised slightly. I told you that I am here to earn food for my son and Xiao Huai, so don't do anything. As he spoke, a lightning whip suddenly appeared in Lei Lei's hand, and he swung it at the dozen zombies that were the fastest. Only a small crackling sound was heard, and more than a dozen zombies were instantly charred and fell down. You can just take your son and pick up the crystal core, Lei Lei said with a smile. Clearly very interested in the upcoming activities. Before Len Ning could say anything, Xiaoman was already dancing with excitement. Mom, something delicious. Xiaoman wants something delicious. He was so excited that he almost flew towards the zombies on the opposite side. Your dad said he's here to kill us. Let's just pick them up. Can you find the crystal core? Len Ning looked at the charred zombies and asked. Yes, 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 Xiaoman said quickly. Then several vines immediately sprouted and flew towards the charred zombies. Extremely precise, each vine picked up the crystal core exactly and brought it back to Len Ning. Len Ning's eyes flashed with brilliance, and he asked Xiaoman to follow Lei Lei to pick up the crystal core. She herself received Lei Ting's car into the space ring, and then released Xiao Huai. Just hearing a bang at the scene, a huge acacia tree appeared out of thin air, and then fell heavily to the ground. Then the acacia tree quickly grew roots, splitting and destroying the ground, and penetrated into the ground. At the same time, the acacia tree began to grow vines again, catching all the zombies that appeared nearby to the tree. A small number of zombies were thrown into the hollow of its huge trunk, and most of them just took out the crystal core and threw it aside. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 534. Len Ning took out a speaker from the space ring, opened it and placed it directly in front of Xiao Huai. Keep an eye on this thing, don't let the zombies touch it. After putting it away, Len Ning warned Xiao Huai. Xiao Huai was having a great time killing zombies. He felt even happier when his master placed something that could make a sound next to him. After all, this thing can attract more delicious food to it, of course it will be happy. Zhizi, Xiao Huai replied immediately. You can eat the corpse if you want. Keep the crystal core and don't eat it secretly, Len Ning continued. Xiao Huai was stunned, and the vines catching zombies paused for a moment. Len Ning was sure that Xiaoman could understand what he said, and felt relieved. I will count the points when you come back. The more crystal cores you have, the more rewards you will get. If you eat secretly, you will be hungry for 10 days, Len Ning continued. Like Xiaoman, Xia Hui's spirit body is also in her sea of consciousness space. She can feel the two little ones eating, especially the crystal nuclei. Therefore, she was not worried that Xiao Huai could deceive her. But she also has little confidence in Xiao Huai, a glutton. If it really can't resist the temptation and eats the crystal core, it will be troublesome. On the one hand, she wanted to control its crystal core intake, but on the other hand, she was worried that Xiaoman would develop a rebellious mentality after seeing this situation. How will she discipline these two little ones then? Therefore, punitive policies are very necessary. The punishment should even be harsher. Zhizi, although he didn't understand what Xiao Huai said, Len Ning could clearly feel that Xiao Huai's mood was very low at the moment. Work hard, and you will be rewarded if you do well. Len Ning didn't think about Xia Hui's words at all. He patted Xia Hui's huge branches with his little hands and left. Xiao Huai is a plant, and she is not worried about zombies attacking it at all. In other words, she placed Xiao Huai here and it was absolutely safe. This is equivalent to a fisherman putting a net in an ownerless fish pond, just waiting for the time to come and collect the harvest. Looking at Xiao Huai, who was trying hard to catch zombies, Len Ning had a smile on his face and felt a little emotional in his heart. If we collect a few more mutated plants like Sephora japonica and place them outside the Thunder base, we might not have to worry about the zombie horde. Haha, of course she was just thinking about all this. After all, not everyone is like her and has the ability to incorporate mutant plants. After all, mutated plants are attacked by both humans and zombies. If done improperly, while killing zombies, it may also harm humans. Not far ahead, Xiaoman, half a man tall, was following Lei Lei, stretching out its many vines to happily pick up crystal cores. And Lei Lei was looking back at her, obviously waiting for her. Len Ning smiled and quickly ran towards Thunder. As soon as he ran 10 meters away from Thunder, Xiaoman quickly returned to Len Ning's hands, not even bothering to pick up the crystal core. Lei Lei looked at the scene and felt quite happy in his heart. This son really can't live without his mother. Mom doesn't care about Xiao Huai anymore. Xiaoman glanced in Xia Hui's direction and asked Len Ning. Len Ning was slightly startled. I was a little surprised that Xiaoman actually spoke up for Xiao Huai this time. Xiao Huai calls me big brother after all. He can help with some things. It's a pity to lose him. Seeing Len Ning's expression, Xiaoman said awkwardly. It finally had a little brother, and it was such a pity that it was gone just like that. Len Ning felt happy on his face. Don't worry. I didn't lose it. I left it here to catch zombies. Let's pick it up when we go back, Len Ning said with a smile. Xiao Huai is different from you. He can't change his form at will, except for the miniature version of the spirit body. It can only appear in its original appearance. If it were in its native form, it would have to be fixed in one place, and it would be impossible to follow her around. TCH, you're not as good as me, Xiao Man said scornfully. That's right. You are the leader in the plant world, Len Ning said, holding Xiaoman in his hands. Haha, Xiaoman felt extremely sweet. I think Len Ning's words are very reasonable. Is it okay to put Xiao Huai there? Lei Lei also walked over. Zombies won't take the initiative to attack plants, no problem, Len Ning said to Lei Lei. Besides, Xiao Huai's spirit body is in my sea of consciousness. If something happens to it, I can sense it immediately. We can't leave. Even if you are far away, you can come back to help at any time. Lei Lei glanced in Xia Hui's direction and then nodded. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that Xiao Huai's real body looked like this. If such a tree were placed in a zombie wave, its effect would be comparable to that of an elite team of no less than 20 people. More importantly, locust trees are plants, which can prevent zombies from actively attacking, and there is no need to worry about being infected and killed by zombie viruses. Xiaoning's wood mutation power is so practical that even a thunder power user like him is a little envious. Let's clean up along this square. Len Ning looked at the group of zombies coming in front and said. Just as he was talking, a large number of zombies came over. On the one hand, it was because the two humans were too eye-catching, and on the other hand, it was also because Len Ning played a stereo next to Xiao Huai. In this quiet city, the melodious singing from the speakers is extremely attractive to the zombies. Okay, Lei Lei responded. Then he immediately raised his butcher knife at the zombies again. Len Ning was cheerful and followed slowly. Today she is here to be the hands-off shopkeeper. The eldest brother killed zombies, Xiaoman picked up crystal cores, and she followed him for a walk to enjoy the scenery. I saw. With a wave of the thunder whip, the zombies approaching nearby were charred. Thunder then moved forward and continued killing. Xiaoman stretched out a large number of vines, and then many tentacles sprouted from the vines. Each tentacle reached exactly where there was a crystal core, and easily picked up all the scattered crystal cores. Len Ning, holding a small bucket in his hand, followed Lei Lei leisurely and unhurriedly. Xiaoman took back the crystal cores and transferred them all automatically, sending the crystal cores to the edge of the barrel. Crackling, Len Ning could hear the sound of the crystal core falling into the keg as he walked. In a short time, she had collected most of the barrel of crystal nuclei. Looking at the colorful crystal nuclei in the bucket, Len Ning smiled happily and took out a new keg from the space ring. Then he put the almost full bucket into the space ring. Soon, the huge square was filled with piles of charred zombies. And Len Ning harvested 3 small barrels of crystal nuclei. It feels like there are no zombies coming. How about we change places, Len Ning said to Lei Lei in front of him with a small bucket. Thunder then put away his thunder whip and looked back at Len Ning. Len Ning smiled and walked quickly towards Thunder. Seeing that there was a lot of sweat on Lei Ting's forehead, he quickly took out a towel from the space ring to wipe Ting Ting's sweat. "Thank you, brother," he said with a smile while wiping it back. "Not bad." Lei Lei smiled and squeezed Len Ning's hand. Then he picked up a towel and wiped it himself. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 535. Just the strength and speed of this hand have little effect. It is more efficient if he wipes it himself. Len Ning chuckled, took out another bottle of energy drink from the space ring and handed it over. "Brother, drink this." Then Xiaoman became busy and ran out without waiting for Len Ning to say anything. The suckers on the vine are like sucking beans, sucking them everywhere. Len Ning stood behind Lei Lei and did not follow Xiaoman. "Brother, are you afraid that you are about to reach the 5th level, Len Ning asked Lei Lei in disbelief. For a power of this level, the eldest brother may have already reached the 5th level. Yes. It's already the 4th level peak, which was reached just now, Lei Lei said in a deep voice. He rarely goes out for training, so his strength growth would have been relatively slow. But the laboratory prepared some pills for him. Those pills were obviously more effective than the crystal cores. After taking the pills, he felt the mental power in his body slowly increasing almost every day. Until just now, he had used his mental power to the maximum extent, allowing himself to rush from the intermediate level of the 4th level to the peak of the 4th level in one fell swoop. The move just now produced such great destructive power, he said with a smile on his face. You can kill so many zombies without even breathing. The eldest brother is indeed the eldest brother. Lei Lei was not polite, took the drink and drank it in big gulps. Len Ning looked at Lei Lei's Adam's apple sliding continuously under the sun, feeling extremely sexy. Haha, this man is my boyfriend. There is a main road going out from there. Let's go there and continue. After drinking all the water, Lei Lei directly put the bottle into the space ring. Plastic water bottles are considered precious items in the apocalypse. After all, the factories that produce the bottles have not yet recovered. While ordinary people don't have space rings, such a lightweight water container is also very valuable to them. It's still early, you can rest for a while. Len Ning smiled at Lei Lei. Almost all the zombies around the square were killed, but the 2 humans were really attracted to the zombies. No, there are already zombies running towards them excitedly. So, in fact, as long as they don't rush, zombies are definitely not bad. No, take advantage of today's free time to save more rations for Xiaoman and Xiaohui. When they get busy, they won't have time, Lei Lei said with a smile on his eyebrows. I think it feels good to be a father and take care of the whole family. Okay. If you're tired, just tell me and let me stretch my muscles. Seeing that Lei Lei didn't want to rest, Len Ning didn't insist. Okay. Lei Lei saw that Len Ning's hands were really itchy and touched Len Ning's head. Then, the 2 of them walked towards the intersection. Seeing the father and son working hard, Len Ning was determined to find something to do for himself. So, she once again found a speaker from the space ring. It's just that this speaker is far less loud than the one she left for Xiaohui, and the volume is naturally incomparable to Xiaohui's. To be precise, what Len Ning was holding was a portable Bluetooth speaker. It can be connected to a mobile phone or tablet via Bluetooth pairing, and music from the mobile phone or tablet can be played on it. After Len Ning only made a few simple operations, the name of the Bluetooth speaker appeared on her tablet. Len Ning smiled and immediately clicked on the match. Then she clicked on a music app and played the songs she had downloaded before the end of the world. The Bluetooth speaker immediately started playing music. This is a relatively explosive rock song, and combined with the thunderous explosive moves on the scene, people can't help but feel excited. Lei turned around and saw Len Ning twisting his movements to the music. He couldn't help but smile, and he actually killed zombies in time with the beat. Xiaoman had been following Len Ning for a long time, and he had acquired some musical instincts, and he even followed the rhythm when picking up crystal nuclei. For a moment, the originally cold killing scene seemed to suddenly come to life. The two of them enjoyed such a happy time together. With the addition of Bluetooth speakers, more zombies are coming. An ordinary person would have been too frightened to walk when encountering such a large zombie army, but Lei looked relaxed. After feeling that the Thunder Whip was not working well, he simply replaced the Thunder Whip with a Thunder Blade. I saw that Lei used his mental power to directly condense a lightning blade that was the same length as the street. Then, he quickly used his mental power on the lightning blade. Then, the lightning blade moved towards the distance at an extremely fast speed. Wherever they went, the zombie corpses were all cut off and charred into pieces. Truly indomitable and invincible. Electric light and flint, shocking. This scene is actually very similar to the beautiful Chinese science fiction blockbusters that people watched before the end of the world. It's just that the scene in front of you is far more real and exciting than the 3D in the cinema. Because this is the real world. As soon as Lei used his ultimate move, all the zombies on the street in front of them turned into dead souls. Len Ning was shocked on the spot. Xiaoman was just stunned for a moment, then quickly ran out and picked up the crystal core. Looking at the charred zombie corpses in front of him, Len Ning simply let Xiaoman pick up the crystal cores by himself and stayed where he was. Xiaoman was even more happy now and ran away all of a sudden. While running, suckers came out to quickly pick up crystal nuclei. Len Ning withdrew his gaze, quickly turned off the Bluetooth speaker, and walked towards Lei Ting. "Brother, are you afraid that you are about to reach the 5th level?" Len Ning asked Lei in disbelief. "This level of lightning blade cannot be issued by a 4th level intermediate lightning element." "Yeah. Already at the 4th level peak, which I reached just now." Lei raised the corner of his mouth in an arc. His pale complexion made him look far less relaxed than his tone. Lei was indeed almost exhausted at this moment, and the blow just now almost exhausted his mental energy. He rarely goes out for training, and his strength should have grown slowly. But the laboratory prepared some pills for him. Those pills were obviously more effective than the crystal cores. After taking the pills, he felt the mental power in his body slowly increasing almost every day. Until just now, he had used his mental power to the maximum extent, allowing himself to rush from the intermediate level of the 4th level to the peak of the 4th level in one fell swoop. It was only after the Thunder Blade was sent out that he realized that even though they were in the same level, there was such a big difference between the peak level 4 lightning system and the intermediate level 4 lightning system. Although he was physically tired at the moment, his heart was excited. This is a desire for power and the excitement of improving one's own strength. "Sit down and rest for a while." Seeing Lei's expression look bad, Len Ning took out a stool from the space ring. Thunder originally wanted to refuse and tell Len Ning not to worry. It can be seen that Len Ning looked like you must obey and did not dare to say more. He obediently sat down on the stool that Len Ning had placed for him. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 536. After sitting down, Lei felt that his body immediately felt more comfortable. The feeling of mental exhaustion is really uncomfortable, but fortunately, the result is really worth it. Take 2 pills and you'll feel better. Len Ning looked at Lei Ting, who refused to show his fragile posture, and said, passing over a bottle of special pills. This pill was just developed by the pharmaceutical company. Only a very low concentration of Xiaomen's juice was taken, and some refreshing drugs were added, which was very helpful in relieving the symptoms of physical discomfort after mental exhaustion. Looking at Len Ning's worried look, Lei Lei didn't hesitate. After taking the medicine bottle, he poured out 2 pills, threw them directly into his mouth, and swallowed them forcefully. Soon, Lei Lei felt as if some clear springs had poured into his depleted spiritual world, instantly nourishing the dry land. Then, the spring of spiritual power in his sea of consciousness began to slowly overflow with spiritual power, and the entire space of the sea of consciousness gradually began to regain its vitality. Are you feeling better? Len Ning touched Lei Ting's forehead worriedly. Much better. Lei Lei took off Len Ning's hand and smiled at her. Then he stood up and took Len Ning into his arms. The sea of consciousness has expanded a lot, which is a good thing. Then he hugged Len Ning and said. With a wave of his hand, he eliminated several zombies running 5 meters behind Len Ning. Len Ning heard the sound and turned around to see the situation. You're already in this situation, and you're still abusing your mental power, he scolded Lei Lei at that moment. It's okay, it won't take much effort to deal with these zombies, Lei Lei said with a fond smile. He is indeed a little weak at the moment, but after the spiritual power spring is restored, he has fighting strength again. These zombies are really nothing to him. After reaching the 4th level peak, his consciousness sea space has expanded by nearly 1/3 than before, and he will be able to store more mental power. Don't be brave. I'm here and you are not allowed to take risks, Len Ning said, pulling out 2 silenced pistols from the space ring. Xiaomen went to pick up the crystal core. She lost her best weapon, but this did not mean that she lost her fighting ability. Then, Len Ning ignored Lei Lei and turned around to greet the zombies that appeared one after another with bullets. Every bullet hits the zombie's forehead and heart, 1 fatal bullet. The zombies fell down 20 meters away from them, with no chance to come towards them. Looking at Len Ning with this appearance, Lei Lei felt a little excited. She is the cute one, she is the heroic figure, and her Xiao Ning is the best person in the world. Len Ning quickly used up all the bullets, but how could she be short of ammunition when she had a space ring and Thunder's care? She neatly took off the magazine, quickly replaced it with a new one, and continued shooting with both hands. This scene made Lei Lei appreciate it again and again. This shooting level is not inferior to that of the Red Fox. It seems that the title of the first female shooter in the Thunder base is about to be changed. Because there were not many zombies, Len Ning gradually had some free time. After killing for a while, you can still look back at Lei Lei and make silly faces at him. Lei Lei couldn't help but be amused. After about 10 minutes like this, Xiaomen, who went out to pick up crystal cores, finally came back. Mom, there are so many. Xiaomen picked up a lot of delicious food. Vine ran quickly and rushed directly to Len Ning. Only then did Len Ning see that there was a net bag woven with vines next to Xiaomen's trunk. It was full of colorful crystal nuclei, and the number was hard to estimate. Good boy, Len Ning praised Xiaomen and quickly took out a large bucket from the space. Xiaomen was very sensible and immediately poured all the crystal nuclei in the net bag into Len Ning's vat. Crackling actually filled more than half of the barrel. Len Ning looked happy. After collecting the crystal core, he put the big bucket into his space ring. There are more over there. Xiaomen had already taken aim at the zombies that Len Ning had killed just now. Let your dad rest for a while we continue, Len Ning said happily to Xiaomen. Okay, pick up delicious food with mom. Xiaomen immediately transformed into a stick and returned to Len Ning's hands. When Lei Lei saw this situation, he immediately guessed Len Ning's plan. Thinking that since she had already made up her mind, she wouldn't stop her. Wait for me here, Len Ning said to Lei Ting with a smile, and rushed out with Xiaomen in hand. Upon arriving at the first wave of zombies, Xiaoman immediately grew a large number of vines and accurately attacked the zombies' heads. The crystal nuclei were quickly pulled out one by one, and then automatically sent to Len Ning's hands. This feeling of harvest is simply too wonderful. Lei Lei looked at Len Ning, who was fighting in full swing, and suddenly felt that it would be really good if he could often take Xiao Ning out to do such activities. Because Len Ning had been recharging his energy before, and Xiaoman was like an electric motor that could be filled with infinite energy after eating crystal cores. One person and one vine worked together seamlessly and very efficiently. In less than 15 minutes, Lei Lei looked over and saw that the streets within his sight had been cleaned up by Len Ning. At this time, Len Ning just finished the battle and turned back to look at Lei Lei. Waved at him. Lei Lei also reached out and waved at Len Ning, signaling her to come back. Len Ning didn't waste any time and walked back with Xiaoman. By the way, the zombies wandering from the next street were eliminated. It feels so good, Len Ning said to Lei Ting not far away after wiping the sweat from his forehead. There aren't many zombies here, let's go over there and kill another wave, Len Ning said with a smile, seeing that Lei Lei's complexion had recovered. Lei Lei was stunned, raised his wrist and looked at his watch. Okay. But we can only hunt nearby. We have to get back before dark. Len Ning frowned, what time is it? They just came out not long ago, did time pass so quickly? 4:30 Thunder replied. Winter nights come very early, and it will be dark before 6 o'clock. Although he and Xiao Ning are both powerful people, there are many inconveniences at night and their vision will be affected. They don't need to take the risk. Next, they had to go home for dinner and couldn't let their mother wait for them. A trace of depression flashed across Len Ning's face. Okay then. Let's go around the block in front and then go back to pick up Xiao Hui. Then he looked at the street in front of him. Yeah, Lei Lei stepped forward and patted Len Ning on the shoulder. I'll take you out after a while when I'm free. He looked at Len Ning and said softly. Len Ning glanced at Lei Ting, slapped Ting Ting's hand away, turned around and walked forward. Who asked you to take it with me? It's not like I can't get out on my own. Haha. Saying these arrogant words, someone's heart actually became sweet. Of course she can hunt zombies alone, but it's more fun to be with her big brother. Lei Lei felt happy on his face and raised his feet to chase Len Ning. When the safe zone is ready, he will definitely throw away the work in his hands and accompany Xiao Ning to go out and kill zombies to his heart's content. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 537. Len Ning didn't give Lei Lei a chance the rest of the way, and continued to lead Xiao Man all the way forward. Countless zombies were just excited to think that they were going to eat meat, and then they were quickly dug up by Xiaoman and turned into corpses on the ground. The two traveled quickly and arrived at Xiaohui's location before 5:15. The situation at the scene made Len Ning almost dumbfounded. Because the sound of the speaker was so loud, a large number of zombies around were attracted. The poor little locust tree was unable to defeat the zombies, and was surrounded tightly by the zombies. Thinking of the words Len Ning left for it before leaving, asking it to protect the speaker, Xiao Hui had no choice but to use vines to put the speaker on his own tree trunk to prevent zombies from destroying its owner's things. But the result of this is that the sound spreads farther, and more zombies come over, so vast that they almost crowd the huge area around it. This really makes it both happy and sad at the same time. Fortunately, it now has no shortage of zombie corpses to eat, and it can also kill zombies to get crystal cores as much as it likes. The sad thing is that after working all afternoon, there are still a lot of zombies, and there are more and more zombies. It can't kill them all. Moreover, it has eaten so many zombie corpses that it is almost full now. There were too many bodies thrown away, and there was no place to throw them away. Just as Xiaohui was getting more and more depressed and once again prayed that his owner and boss would come back soon, he finally sensed the location of Len Ning and Xiaoman. Squeak, squeak, squeak. A certain locust tree immediately trembled its branches in the direction of Len Ning excitedly. Why are you so anxious? I can't care about you, Xiaoman said angrily to Xiaohui. I'll save you right away. Len Ning glanced at Xiaoman and said to Xiaohui in the distance with a smile. There are so many zombies, it will be faster if we do it together, Len Ning said to Lei Lei after getting rid of a few zombies that discovered them and rushed toward them. Yeah, Lei Lei frowned slightly. I'm just afraid of accidentally hurting Xiaohui. While talking, he also moved his hands. Don't worry about this. Len Ning's eyes flashed and the corners of his mouth raised. Then something magical happened. In the distance, the tall and heavy acacia tree moved slowly. I saw it slowly pulling out its underground roots, and then slowly began to get smaller, until it became very small. Finally, he quickly jumped over the zombie wall composed of zombies and returned to Len Ning. Only the stereo that Len Ning had placed there was left on the scene, which fell to the ground and was still singing loudly. Unfortunately, the singing only lasted less than 30 seconds before disappearing. Because the speakers were quickly destroyed by zombies. Looking at this scene, Len Ning felt heartbroken and angry. That speaker was the loudest among her several speakers, and she thought about using it as bait for Xiaohui in the future. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a disposable item. Squeak, 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 squeak. Xiaohui happily flew beside Len Ning. If you can't help me, just go back to the consciousness space and stay there, Xiaoman said unhappily. Cooperating with Len Ning, they continued to attack the zombies coming towards them. Xiaohui's disappearance made the zombies quickly notice the existence of two living people, Len Ning and Lei Lei. When the stereo broke down, the two of them became even more conspicuous, so the zombies all came towards them. Zhi Xiaohui said aggrievedly and returned to Len Ning's sea of consciousness space. It tried really hard, but it couldn't kill all the zombies. Let the owner and brother Xiaoman deal with the aftermath, he is very sorry. Lei Lei and Len Ning teamed up to deal with half of the zombies each, fighting and retreating at the same time. Although the number of zombies was really huge, the two of them were so powerful that they did not take the crisis at hand at all. Kill as many as you come after, cleanly, chopping vegetables and melons. When it was almost dark, the two finally ended their battle. There were no hordes of zombies chasing them. Because Xiaoman's vision was not affected by the darkness, Xiaoman insisted on picking up the crystal core before leaving. Len Ning thought that thunder had killed quite a few zombies, and he didn't want to waste it. Then let Xiaoman go out and let him seize the time to pick up the crystal core. By the time the battlefield was cleaned up, it was already close to 6:15, and the sky was already dark. Len Ning asked Xiaoman to return to his consciousness space, and finally got into the car with Lei Ting. Thunder drives. Len Ning relaxed himself and leaned against the co-pilot without any image. In the battle just now, if she hadn't controlled her mental power output and used her mental power leisurely, she might have ended up with the same mental exhaustion as her elder brother. But even though she hadn't reached that point, she was almost exhausted after the battle. Glancing at Lei Lei, who seemed to be in good spirits, Len Ning was sincerely impressed. I was mentally exhausted once, and after only resting for more than an hour, I could still continue to output for so long. Looking at the eldest brother's appearance, he is probably in a much better situation than her. Hey, it is indeed a thunder type. It's still the 4th level peak lightning system, strong. The eldest brother's strength has increased again, and she has to find a way to reach the peak of the 4th level quickly. Empty, need more experience. You can also add some more to Xiaoman's rations. Len Ning looked at Lei Lei for a while, then looked out the window. After a while, it was already dark outside. The once brightly lit city streets seemed to have become a hell cemetery, quiet and dangerous. Between heaven and earth, it seemed that only the car they were riding in still had light. Slowly, Len Ning's eyelids became heavier and heavier. Perhaps thinking that Lei Lei was by her side, she lost her guard and fell asleep slowly. When she woke up, she and Lei Ting had returned to Lei Mansion. Xiaoning. Len Ning heard someone calling her, opened her eyes, and saw thunder. Glancing around, he found that she was still in the car, and outside was where Lei Zai parked his car. I fell asleep. He stretched out his little hand and rubbed his eyes, then Len Ning stood up and stretched his limbs. She was so exhausted that she slept soundly, without even having a dream. What time is it? Len Ning asked. He raised his wrist and looked at his watch. It's 7 o'clock. Lei Lei replied, go and clean up, then go back and have dinner with mom. Len Ning quickly looked down at his clothes. Because the last wave of zombies was so fierce, she sweated a lot while killing them. And because the situation was so critical at the time, she didn't bother to take care of her clothes. Looking at it now, she was really dirty and pitifully dirty. Hey, I'm sorry, brother. The car was stained by you. Len Ning trembled and almost jumped out of the passenger seat. She was so anxious and physically tired when she got in the car that she forgot to pay attention to these things. It's okay. I'll just arrange for someone to clean it tomorrow. Lei Ting looked completely unconcerned. I just went back in such a mess, because I was afraid my mother would be worried. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 538. What should I do? Len Ning looked at his dirty clothes again and asked subconsciously. Just change here. Lei Ting looked at Len Ning and said. Len Ning was about to answer okay when he suddenly remembered something. Why do you need to change here? It's not like there's no room. Take me to building F-06. Then he immediately said to Lei Lei. Is this still his serious elder brother? Actually let her. Len Ning's face was already swollen and red. Ahem, Xiaoning, you misunderstood. Lei Lei finally realized what Len Ning was thinking and said quickly. I'll take you there now. Lei Ting said hurriedly when he saw Len Ning just looking at him with a look like you can argue. He had forgotten, and in his rush for time, he had forgotten the existence of building F-06. That villa was bought by Xiaoning for the senior officials of the 5th branch to live in occasionally, so there were definitely some empty rooms. It's no problem to wash up and change clothes. Len Ning then retracted his gaze. In my heart, I changed my previous anger and started to laugh a little. It's rare to see my eldest brother in a panic. Of course she believed that her eldest brother was a gentleman. Soon, the car stopped in the parking lot of Villa F-06. Len Ning hurriedly got out of the car. Just as he was about to leave, Lei Lei didn't move. Let's go, you have to change your clothes, so he said to him. Lei Lei lowered his head and glanced at the clothes he was wearing. Although it was much cleaner than Len Ning's, it seemed to have some smell due to sweating too much. Let's go to the guest room to wash up, change clothes and then come back, Len Ning continued. Yeah, Lei Lei finally responded and got out of the car. Then he put the car into the space ring and left with Len Ning. At this time, none of the senior officials of the 5th branch of the villa came back, only 2 servants were there. Len Ning asked, and after confirming that there were toiletries in the guest room for bathing, he took Lei Ting to the guest room. The bad news is that due to the increase in the number of high-rise buildings in the 5th branch, several original guest rooms have been converted into master rooms, and now only 1 guest room is left without an owner. Therefore, Len Ning and Lei Ting had to share a room and a bathroom. Len Ning was a little hesitant at first. But time was running out, so she didn't think too much and took Lei Ting to the guest room. It's cold, I'll wash it first. Len Ning had just found out a change of clothes from the space ring when he heard Lei Lei say. Okay. Then hurry up, Len Ning responded casually. Yeah, Lei Lei responded and walked directly towards the bathroom. After a while, Len Ning heard the sound of flushing water coming from the bathroom. She hadn't thought too much because she was anxious just now, but now she finally realized something was wrong, and she felt ashamed on her face. In this situation, does it mean that she and her eldest brother are here to rent a room? Come on, how could she come up with such a silly term as getting a room? After having this idea, Len Ning began to worry about the senior officials in her fifth branch. It's time to get off work now, and some of those people will definitely come back. If they were to meet her and her eldest brother, and let them know that she and her eldest brother took a bath in the same room, she would probably be covered in tears and unable to explain clearly. Only then did Len Ning call out his carelessness. I just hope Lei Lei can wash it quickly so that she can be replaced. Then they can leave before those people come back. Not sure if it was an illusion, but Len Ning felt that Lei Lei's bathing time was a bit long. Finally, the sound of water in the bathroom stopped. Then, after a while, Lei Lei opened the door and came out. Lei Lei was seen wearing a white loose bathrobe, and through his wide collar, the sexy muscles underneath could be seen. It's just that Len Ning has no intention of enjoying the beautiful scenery at the moment. He just wants to take a shower as soon as possible, change his clothes and leave here. So, without any delay, Len Ning immediately walked towards Thunder. Then he bypassed Thunder and went to the bathroom. Lei Ting originally thought that Len Ning wanted to talk to him, but when he saw that she didn't say anything, she looked a little confused. But it only took a moment before he smiled and went to the room. It looked like he was really anxious. Also, at this time, his mother is probably already waiting for them to have dinner. Not long after, the sound of water came from the bathroom. Lei Lei put down the wet towel to wipe his hair and started to change clothes. After Len Ning entered the bathroom, she found that it was full of moisture left by Lei Lei after taking a bath, so she didn't have to worry about getting cold in the bath. Immediately he took off his clothes and began to wash his hair and take a shower. She moved very quickly and it was done in a short time. After briefly wiping his body and wiping his hair with a towel, Len Ning changed clothes directly in the bathroom. Because I was so anxious, I accidentally got some parts of my clothes wet. After cleaning herself up, Len Ning took a breath and left the bathroom. In the room, she saw that Lei Lei had also finished changing his clothes. Let's go, brother, Len Ning said directly to Lei Ting without any pause. Lei Lei quickly took his eyes away from Len Ning's face. Ahem, why don't you blow your hair? Ancient books use hibiscus to describe the beauty after bathing. This is not unreasonable. Xiaoning's skin was originally fair, but the steam in the bathroom made her face look even more fair and rosy. There are also those two patches of red, that natural but gorgeous red, so eye-catching. Len Ning then grabbed his short hair. Brother, help me blow it down. Then he frowned and walked towards Lei Lei unhappily. After the end of the world, she had already cut her long hair for convenience. But despite this, her hair is still much longer than her eldest brother's. After leaving here, they will go home immediately. Her hair will definitely not be dry in such a short distance. Moreover, in the winter, wet hair sticks to the scalp and neck, and it will be really uncomfortable when the wind blows. Come. Lei Lei raised his lips slightly and waved to Len Ning. At the same time, the other hand had picked up the hair dryer on the table. After Len Ning walked over, Lei Lei immediately blew Len Ning's hair. Touching Len Ning's short hair and smelling the faint fragrance of Len Ning's body after bathing, Lei Lei felt his mind swaying a little. Almost. Gotta go. Feeling that his hair was no longer wet and cold, Len Ning quickly pinched Lei Ting's wrist to stop him from continuing. Then he stopped looking at Lei Lei and hurriedly walked towards the door. Lei Lei looked at his hands, feeling a little disappointed. Then he turned off the hair dryer, unplugged it, and after a quick cleanup, he hurried to catch up with Len Ning. The two of them walked out of the door one after the other. After Lei Lei went out, he was worried that he would not be able to catch up with Len Ning, but he heard Len Ning's voice not far ahead. Ha just came to take a look. Len Ning's voice was a little high. Lei Lei walked forward and saw Len Ning's hand waving with her back to him, as if gesturing to him. I was feeling a little puzzled. Master Lei, suddenly someone called him. Then several people appeared in his sight. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 539. Lei Lei walked forward and went to Len Ning's side. Hello, Mr. Lei. Several people quickly gave him a strange look, looked at Xiao Ning again, and then bowed their heads and saluted him. But Xiao Ning had already turned around and glared at him angrily. Let's go. Lei Lei glanced at a few people, stepped forward and took Len Ning's hand, and walked directly around them toward the stairs. They are already an unmarried couple, so why should they care so much about the eyes of others? Xiao Ning, when can I be as open-minded as him, so that he no longer has to be sneaky and can be more upright? Listening to the laughter and discussion of her subordinates coming from the stairs, Len Ning's face turned red as a big tomato. It's natural, Lei Lei said suddenly. Len Ning was stunned. Then I felt a sudden sense of enlightenment. They laughed at themselves because they knew they would be shy. If she wasn't shy, what else would they have to laugh at? After all, they didn't even laugh at their elder brother. Not only because of the identity of the eldest brother, but more importantly because the eldest brother acted naturally from the beginning to the end. Also, she is their boss, so it's really inappropriate for her to be in such a mess. Thinking of this, Len Ning made up his mind. Things like today can never happen again in the future. Don't think too much, let's go. Looking at the weak Len Ning, Lei Lei felt some pity in his heart. He pulled Len Ning's head over with his big hands and leaned into his arms. Yeah, Len Ning felt warm in his heart and thought of nothing else. Soon the two returned to Lei's house. It's already this time and I haven't come back yet. I don't know where I went. As soon as they walked into the yard, they heard Lei Mu's voice coming from inside. Lei Lei and Len Ning looked at each other. Concerned eyes. I won't even call you back to say anything. Let me, an old man, worry blindly. The two of them laughed. Old man? She was the only one who dared to call herself these three words. How could anyone else dare to call them that? Mom, we're back. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth and shouted quickly into the house. Then, very quickly, Lei Mu appeared at the door. Good boy, you still know how to go home. I called the 5th branch and said you haven't been there since this afternoon. Where did you go? Lei's mother asked Len Ning immediately. Before Len Ning could answer, he said to Lei Ting again, the secretary said you weren't here in the afternoon either. Are you two together? Thunder. Haha, that's it, I just happened to have nothing to do, so I went to make an appointment with my elder brother, Len Ning said awkwardly and hurriedly ran towards Lei Mu. Then he grabbed Lei's mother's hand and acted coquettishly. The anger in Lei Mu's heart subsided a little. Dating is a good thing, but you have to call home. It makes me worried, Lei said to Len Ning in a serious tone. This is the end of the world, and there are zombies outside. The two people disappeared so quietly, how could she not be worried? Ning Ning was so busy playing that she didn't think about it. You're so old and you don't know that yet. Lei's mother became angrier as she thought about it, and immediately scolded Lei Lei. Thunder. Ahem, it's my fault. I was having too much fun and forgot to call. Mom, don't be angry. I promise I won't do it again next time, Len Ning hurriedly continued to coax. Only then did Lei's mother take her sight away from Lei Ting. Forget it, I won't do it next time. Come in for dinner. Then he led Len Ning into the living room. Lei Lei touched his nose and followed. The family soon started to have dinner. As Lei's mother ate her meal, she couldn't help but glance at Len Ning and Lei Ting. She always felt that her son and daughter were a little strange, as if they were hiding something from her. Where did you go on a date? Finally, Lei's mother couldn't help but ask the brother and sister. Lei Lei and Len Ning looked at each other. Just, Kang Zhen walked around, Len Ning said quickly. Lei Mu looked at Thunder. Kang Zhen has already called me according to the usual operation. If you miss your meal and eat out, you can call or send someone back to say something. She knew that her son had always been filial. This is unusual today. On a date, go far, Len Ning explained with a smile. Lei Lei, tell me. Lei's mother stared at Lei Lei and ignored Len Ning. Mom, seeing that Lei Lei couldn't answer, Len Ning became anxious and reached out to give Lei's mother a hand. Lei Mu frowned and suddenly realized something was wrong. Why are your clothes different from what you wore this morning? He asked immediately. Immediately afterwards, Lei Mu immediately looked at Lei Ting. My son's clothes have also been changed. Yes, they obviously weren't wearing these clothes this morning. At that moment, Lei's mother was shocked. Then comes ecstasy. Ha ha, ha ha. It's okay, it's okay. It's normal for young people to date. Just remember to call home in advance if you don't come back for dinner next time. Lei's mother changed her aggressive demeanor and instantly changed her attitude. This change directly shocked Len Ning and Lei Lei. Len Ning's cheeks turned red, guessing what Lei Mu was thinking. She wanted to explain that things were not as her mother thought, but she didn't dare to explain. She had promised her mother before that when she was not on a mission, she must stay in the Thunder base and not go out. If you have to go out, you must report it to her. She agreed at that time just to cope with it, and she never thought that she would really abide by it. Hey, as a hall master with family access control, she is so pitiful. I know. Lei Lei glanced at Len Ning and said to Lei Mu. This can be regarded as a final decision on this matter. Don't be shy. Mom is making a fuss about this. Come on, try this. Your favorite. Eat more. Lei's mother hurriedly picked up some food for Len Ning. Thank you, Mom. Len Ning accepted Lei's mother's kindness with embarrassment. Now, I can't pick it off anymore. No matter, if you can't pick it clearly, don't pick it. Brother is right, only by being calm can you be fearless. Anyway, she is already the eldest brother's fiancée, and will be his wife in the future. Thinking of this, Len Ning felt that his appetite was better, and he enjoyed the food happily. After dinner, Len Ning went upstairs first. Lei's mother watched Len Ning disappear at the top of the stairs before looking at Lei Ting. Son, you did a great job. Then he burst out laughing. Lei Lei was immediately startled. Come on, Lei Mu's eyes lit up. I'm full. Lei Lei was so frightened that he immediately put down the bowl. There are some things that haven't been taken care of. Mom, I'm going upstairs first. Then he immediately left. Lei Mu opened her mouth and wanted to stop Lei Ting, but gave up. Forget it, in this current situation, the young couple is developing well, so she should stay less involved. If you accidentally do it a disservice, it will be more of a loss than a gain. Lei Lei went up to the second floor and made sure he didn't hear his mother's words, so he felt more at ease. Glancing in the direction of Len Ning's room, he couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth slightly, and then walked in that direction. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 540. Knock knock knock. Inside the house, Len Ning had just put on her pajamas and sat down to rest for a while when she heard a knock at the door. He walked to the door and opened it, only to find that it was Lei Lei. Brother, Len Ning called out thunderously, with some doubts in his eyes. I went out to work hard for a long time in the afternoon, and I was mentally exhausted once. Now that I finally got home, I still haven't gone back to sleep. She had already changed her clothes and was going to go to bed after watching some dramas. Let me in. Lei Lei glanced around to make sure no one saw him, and said to Len Ning. He didn't worry about other people gossiping or anything like that. If his mother knew about this, she would probably have to cheer him up. By then I'm afraid my ears will really get calluses. Len Ning wanted to laugh when he caught a glimpse of Lei Lei's expression. Get out of the way and let Lei Lei enter the door. When Lei Lei came in, Len Ning closed the door naturally. Only then did Lei Lei notice that the pajamas on Len Ning were pitifully thin. It's not that I'm worried that she'll be cold. After all, the house has floor heating installed, but he doesn't know where to put his eyes. Len Ning quickly noticed Lei Lei's reaction, quickly took a coat and wore it outside. A flash of disappointment flashed in Lei Lei's eyes. What a pity for such a beautiful spring. Ahem, brother, what do you want from me? Len Ning walked towards the sofa and asked as he walked, breaking the slightly awkward atmosphere. It's still early. Lei Lei spread his long legs and walked towards the sofa. Walking to the single sofa where Len Ning was sitting, he immediately gave up on the other single sofa in front of him. He stepped forward to pull Len Ning up and sit down instead. Then before Len Ning could protest angrily, he pulled Len Ning over and let her sit in his arms. What are you doing? Len Ning's cheeks turned red and she said with a hint of embarrassment. Since falling in love with her eldest brother, she has discovered that he likes to hold her in his arms. This was a shameful position, but she gradually got used to it and felt that it felt good. Let me hold you for a while and don't talk. Lei Lei lowered his voice. Such close contact was a huge torture for him, but he seemed to be addicted to it, and he couldn't stop even if he tortured himself. Len Ning struggled symbolically. Then, the abnormality of thunder was quickly discovered. I didn't dare to move anymore. Blushing, her heart beat for a long time, and she felt a little panicked. Brother, are you feeling so uncomfortable? After holding it in for a long time, Len Ning couldn't help but ask. The book says it seems, it will be quite uncomfortable. Lei Lei was stunned. He calmed his breathing again. What do you think? Then he lowered his voice and asked in Len Ning's ear. I read in the book that it seems to be quite uncomfortable. Len Ning replied stiffly. Book? What book? Thunder's eyes were a little dark. If you feel uncomfortable, why are you still hugging me? Len Ning whispered. Isn't this looking for trouble for yourself? It's as sweet as honey, Lei Lei said hoarsely and took Len Ning's earlobe in his mouth. Len Ning trembled. When she came to her senses again, she was already carried on the big bed by Lei Lei. Looking down at the little woman who seemed to be emotionally moved, Lei Ting spent a lot of effort to control himself. Go to sleep, he said in a hoarse voice. After Lei Lei finished speaking, he was about to get up and leave. Unexpectedly, the little woman suddenly reached out and put her arms around his neck, and even pulled him down. Fire ignited in Thunder's eyes. Xiaoning, do you know what you are doing? Then he asked in a low and dangerous voice. I know. Don't you want me, brother? Len Ning looked at Lei Lei with big eyes, and his eyes were also tinged with psychedelic color. Although they haven't reached the last step, she and her eldest brother have most of what they should have. In her dreams, she even had those ridiculous dreams more than once, so why not just make them come true this time? Face it calmly and let the shyness go to hell. Thunder's eyes suddenly turned violent. You have no chance to regret. River Crab, please leave room for your own imagination, otherwise the Black Room will warn you. The next day. As soon as Len Ning opened her eyes, she saw the man next to her looking at her with a smile. You can sleep a little longer, Lei Ting said warmly when Len Ning woke up. Len Ning's mind suddenly cleared up. Then he blushed. What time is it? He didn't dare to look at Lei Lei and asked. The hot scenes that happened last night made her almost ashamed. Hey, I didn't even drink, yet I was so crazy. Does the eldest brother think she is very unrestrained? Haha, it's 10 minutes to 9 o'clock. Lei Lei glanced at the clock hanging on the wall not far away and said with a smile. What? Len Ning was startled and immediately leaned over. Lei Lei looked at Len Ning, with a blazing look in his eyes. Len Ning hurriedly pulled the quilt to cover her exposed spring sunshine. Oh my God, It was only then that she remembered that she was naked. And there was also a hungry wolf lying beside him. "Why didn't you call me?" Len Ning was on the verge of tears and lost his temper at Lei Lei. Their family has breakfast at 7 in the morning, and after breakfast she usually goes to the 5th branch. It's almost 9 o'clock now. Len Ning's eyes suddenly widened. "Mom," she was too guilty to say the next words. Then someone immediately looked at Thunder beside him angrily. "It's all your fault. About 50 words have been deleted here. Don't worry, Mom won't disturb us. I've also called the 5th branch. You don't have to go there today," Lei Lei said with a smile. "I also gave myself a day off to stay with you at home." Len Ning's eyes widened. "What do you mean Mom won't disturb us?" she asked anxiously. If her mother found out, would she still need to see anyone? Literally, Lei Lei glanced at Len Ning. Then he immediately pulled up the quilt and got in under Len Ning's exclamation. "Bad guy? Bad guy? You just like bad guys. I'm not coming anymore, Big Brother is not coming. Call my husband. This winter, spring is in full bloom. The sweet time is always short, and the holidays end so hastily." After returning to work, the two of them devoted themselves to their work. Fortunately, their working places are not far away, and Len Ning is relatively idle and will visit the military headquarters in person from time to time. He said he was going to a meeting, to pass on information about the 5th branch, etc., but in fact it was just to see Lei Ting more. The phone calls between the two of them are not interrupted. They have to contact each other once after work, once during lunch, and once before getting off work. If I miss the other person in the middle, I will make a phone call. In short, both the top brass of the military department and the top brass of the 5th branch felt the strong sour smell of love. Another week has passed. On this day, the Thunder base finally announced its plan to build a Thunder safe zone. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Ki Now. Chapter 541. The announcement stated that the Thunder base will gradually expand its territory based on the original area, purify a larger area step by step, and strive for more living space for survivors. According to the plan of Thunder military headquarters, the final area of the entire safety zone will reach 2/3 of the area of the southern area of Cydia before the end of the world. This area can be said to be quite large. Even if all the survivors in Cydia move to live in the safe zone, there will be a huge living space. As soon as the planning map came out, almost all the major bases thought that the Thunder base was just dreaming. After all, such a large territory cannot be defended by just the few people in his Thunder base. The Thunder base is strong, but it is far from strong enough to control such a large territory. However, they did not really take the final plan of the Thunder base seriously, but instead focused on the progress plan of the safe zone of the Thunder base. According to the Thunder base's plan, they will adopt a step-by-step approach to expand the safety zone step by step. The first step is to expand a fan-shaped arc area with a radius of 3 kilometers from the existing site of the Thunder base within 3 months. Let the total area of the safety zone complete 20% of the planned expansion area. The second step is to expand the area to 50% of the total planned area of the safety zone within the next 6 months on the original basis. The final step is to continue 1 year to complete the final 50% of the safety zone area planning. In other words, the planning time for the entire safety zone was only 1 year and 8 months. Although they do not believe that the Thunder base has the ability to complete the construction of the entire safe zone as scheduled, expansion is certain. For example, it took more than 3 months to complete the first phase of the plan to expand their territory to 20% of the planned area of the safety zone. Then, while accumulating strength, we continue to seek development. Such a big plan and action for the Thunder base requires huge manpower and material resources. For this reason, when Lei Lei's military headquarters issued this announcement, it also issued a recruitment notice to recruit workers to help build the safety zone. Some bases have no industry and can only rely on superpowers to hunt zombies to earn crystal cores. Now there is an opportunity to make money. This is the first time that the Thunder base has worked for outsiders, and many bases are getting ready to make a move. Of course, there are also those who are vigilant and alarmist, saying that the Thunder base is robbing the population, and if people are sent away, it will be difficult to get them back. In short, there are different opinions among the major bases, and the water in Scythia has been stirred up. At the same time, a head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was appointed at Thunder base. I heard that this person's origin was not simple. He was actually Lu Rud, the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of China before the end of the world. Soon, Lu Rud began to personally contact the senior management and even the person in charge of the major bases to strengthen the relationship with some bases interested in cooperating with the Thunder base. It has to be said that after all, it is his professional background and his identity lies there. Lu Rud has achieved remarkable results in less than half a month since he took office. After Lu Rud offered the Thunder base favorable conditions, no fewer than 10 medium and large bases sent workers to the Thunder base to help the Thunder base with the planning and construction of its safety zone. At the same time, there are 2 bases with more than 2,000 people that are even willing to merge into the Thunder safe zone and join the Thunder base. As a result, the number of workers in the first phase of the safety zone planning is not so nervous. During this period, the 5 major branch halls were almost idle. Except for necessary guard work, almost all available soldiers were transferred to safe areas by the hall masters. Those who clean up zombies, and those who help maintain order and protect the safety of workers on site are also doing their jobs seriously and conscientiously. There are also mercenaries, most of whom have participated in the construction of the safe zone in various ways. In short, the construction of the safe zone started with great enthusiasm. As the leader of the 5th branch, Len Ning was naturally not idle. And now that she has an honest reason to go out, Lei Mu no longer controls her so much. She first took the time to explore the rural road from Kongzhen to City B again. After confirming that there was no problem, a team of people was left to make small improvements to the country road. Then he took people out every day to inspect and clean up zombies in safe areas. Naturally, she arranged for the people under her to do the inspection, and she mainly went to hunt zombies. Because of his powerful abilities and unparalleled means of obtaining crystal cores, Len Ning's name quickly spread in the safe zone. Almost everyone knows that the leader of the 5th branch, their lady, is a super powerful psychic and an invincible zombie killer. After the number of zombies in the surrounding areas was greatly reduced, Len Ning was not willing to find zombies to kill, and occasionally would take a few powerful men to get crystal cores in farther places. After more than a week of this, Len Ning was able to save a large amount of rations for Xiaoman and Xiaohui. At the same time, her power level finally caught up with Thunder, reaching the peak of the 4th level. On this day, as soon as Len Ning returned home, Yang Meijun told her that Li Feng had called her and asked her to call her back when she came back. Len Ning rarely paid attention to the affairs of the 5th branch during this period. Most of the affairs were handed over to Sun Qi, and Li Feng was also arranged by her to assist Sun Qi. She almost acted as a hands-off shopkeeper. When she heard Li Feng say that he wanted to see her for something, she immediately realized that something was going on. So, he quickly went to the phone and dialed the number of Villa F-06. Hello soon, someone on the other side answered the phone. Len Ning, put Li Feng on the phone. It was Zhang Peng who answered the phone. Len Ning said solemnly. Yes, Hall Master, please wait a moment, Zhang Peng said quickly. Brother Feng, the Hall Master is calling. Immediately, Len Ning heard Zhang Peng calling Li Feng on the phone. Len Ning only waited for a while before Li Feng's voice came from the other end of the phone. Hall Master, I am Li Feng. Yeah. Aunt Yang said you came to me if you have something to do, Len Ning said directly. Yes, Li Feng replied cautiously. What's the matter, Len Ning's expression suddenly became serious. There's news from second young master. Zhang Lifeng lowered his voice. There was a cold light in Len Ning's eyes. I'll be right over. Then he hung up the phone. Then, Len Ning walked quickly towards the door. Hey, miss, dinner will be served soon. Where are you going? Yang Meijun from the back hall saw Len Ning walking out and wanted to stop her. Go out. A trace of hesitation flashed across Len Ning's face. I'm going out to eat, and I might come back later. When my mother and elder brother asked, Zhou Tao and the others invited me to dinner. She had been waiting for news about teacher Zhang for a long time, and now that there was finally news, how could she still sit still? It happened that the elder brother would be back soon. I just hoped that he would really believe that she had gone to the appointment and wouldn't think too much about anything else. After Len Ning finished speaking, he hurried out the door without waiting for Yang Meijun's reply.